Thank you. Oh, look at this. I can't believe it. Michael, come here. Come here. That's all right, come here. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. Listen, we're at Achievers Conference here.
Sure.
Nobody in the room here does not like appreciation, am I right? Everybody here loves it, don't we?
Sure.
Well, come here if you will. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, if you will.
Just a bit under the weather.
Not only Michael, but everybody that has worked so hard, your whole team that has worked so hard, including people that are not here.
Yeah.
Emma Yates is the first person I spoke to when we were trying to contract to do this. What a wonderful person she is. And since I've been here, you guys have made me feel like family.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
So I'd like to borrow some money.
Ah!
I'm only kidding. No. I want you to stay here.
No.
In the States, we do something a little different. Now, I don't know what you do in New Zealand or in Australia, but in the States, we like to show people that we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Now, I came from somewhat the South. And in the South, we like to look at people and we like to say, you done good, son.
Yeah.
And we like to do that. I want you to do that with all of your accents the way you are. That's wonderful. I want you to do that. If you will, at the count of three, everybody point to Michael, and you're going to represent the entire group. Christine and everybody John, everybody's worked so hard. Everybody at the count of three say, y'all done so good, now you hear. Can you do that? Everybody at the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Y'all done so good, now you hear. Right on, brother.
Thanks, man.
Hey. I first of all want to say thank you so much. I have to give you a little warning here, though, if you will. Because if you're allergic to fun, if you're allergic to having fun, or you're allergic to positive attitudes, then this isn't the place for you. And I know that everybody here is not allergic to that. I've seen it. In fact, it's a little bit intimidating, if you will, speaking to a group like you, achievers the way that you are. How many of you know who Billy Burke is? Anybody seen Wizard of Oz? Well, she was the good witch in The Wizard of Oz. And I heard a story about her one time, and speaking to a group like you that are achievers is somewhat intimidating. The story of her was, she was on a cruise, much like the cruise that some of you may be taking in the future, and she was put at a table. If you've ever been on a cruise, you know they put you at a dining table. You don't know the people sometimes that you're there with. Well, there was a gentleman sitting at the table, and he was sniffling and sneezing. He had a bad cold. And every time he would sneeze or sniffle, she would look at him and say, listen, I know just what to do. You need to go back to your room, get under the covers, make yourself a hot toddy, and drink that up and then just sweat it out. And trust me, you'll be better in the morning. You know why I know that? Because I'm Billy Burke of Hollywood, and I know that. And he listened to this advice, and he decided, okay, that's what I'm going to do then. So he excused himself from the table. He got up, and he was leaving, and he stopped. Wait a minute. He says, excuse me. He said, let me introduce myself. Thank you for the advice. He says, my name is Dr. Mayo of the Mayo Clinic. And that's exactly how I feel today in a way, because you all have done such a wonderful job. I mean, you're here. How many of you are glad to be alive? I am. Every morning I wake up and you have a choice in life, don't you? To say, good morning, Lord, or good Lord, it's morning, one or the other, right? At my age, I'm glad to be anywhere. Michelle, she's so beautiful and she's wonderful. She's the epitome of health. And when she started talking about exercise, it made me kind of guilty. See, my idea of exercise is you fill the tub with water, you pull the plug, and you fight the current. That's my idea of exercise. You think I'm kidding, too. My family, just ask my wife. I mean, I have 5 kids. I have a 45-year-old daughter, a 40-year-old son, a 17-year-old boy, a 12-year-old son, and a 2-year-old son. I'm telling you, that to me, and he's my hero. You know, I look at people look at my head. You're staring at my bald head. And he's like going, what happened? You know, God gives every man the same amount of hormones. If you want to use yours growing hair, that's up to you, right? The reality, I know what we're doing. But we are going to have fun today, and I'll tell you why. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. Fun stands for something, but we're going to do something first. Everybody stand up, if you will. Everybody stand up. All I want you to do is I want you to turn to the people on both sides of you, left and right, shake their hand, say, good morning, it's good to see you. That's all I want you to do. Good morning, it's good to see you. Now, don't sit down yet. Don't sit down. All right, now don't sit down. We're going to change things up a bit here, if you will. I want you to stay standing, okay? I want you to indulge me, if you will, and you heard me blow this whistle. What I'm going to do for you in the short 30 minutes that I have you is share with you some techniques and some ideas that you can use when you're training and working with your downline or even your upline. Doesn't make any difference with anybody. And I'm going to share with you why, but let's indulge me, if you will. Let's pretend the people you just shook hands with on either side of you, in front, behind, whichever. Let's say two weeks ago, and you know them. 2 weeks ago, they borrowed $2,000 from you, and they haven't paid it back yet. Now, if it's family, you might as well forget it, right? It's gone. You'll never see it again, and that's okay. That's all right. But they're not family. They just work for you. And last night, they said, listen, we're going to be in a session tomorrow where we're going to talk about working with people and helping people grow. And I promise you that before we start that session, I'm going to give you your $2,000 back. And I want to say I'm sorry for taking so long to pay it back. I'm rather embarrassed, but to compensate you, I'm going to give you an extra $500. Will that be all right? Because you really pulled me out of a bind. So now what I want you to do is this. Knowing that that's going to happen, turn to the same people and say, good morning, it's good to see you now. Go ahead and do that now. Whoa. Oh, look at that. Goodness. All right, you can have a seat now. Wow. Now, that was quite a bit different. That was a whole lot different the second time. I saw people jumping in people's arms back there. There's some physical going on here. Now, that's okay too. Now, you tell me. I don't care what size group it is. I don't care how many times I've done that. It always works the same way. But what changed? Because you're the same person you were the first time as you were the second time, with the exception of one thing. What was it that changed? Yes, your attitude. It was called an attitude of expectation. You expect to get something, right? And you know it's going to happen. How many of you are excited when you know that somebody's going to hand over some greenbacks to you? It's exciting, isn't it? Well, guess what? If you approach the next 30 minutes with me with that same kind of expectation, you'll leave here having said, I got something. I got something I can use. I not only got something I can use, I got something with a little bit extra. I got a little extra value there. Because there is. There always is. Because you see, fun stands for feeling unusually nice. I've coined this for years, and I believe this wholeheartedly, and that's why I have 5 kids, because I learn more from my kids than I have from any other mentor that I've had in my life, and I've had a lot of wonderful mentors. In 1976, I met Zig Ziglar, and he became my mentor almost immediately, and for years we had a wonderful relationship, and I learned so much from him. But I've still learned more, and I still learn more from my 2-year-old by watching him, how he approaches life, how he approaches people. Because it does. Maya Angelou said this. She said, people will not remember what you did or what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And Michelle alluded to that when she said, that's the business we're in, isn't it? By making people feel good and special. Well, you know what? Zig used to say something. He used to say, son, there have been billions of people that have walked the face of this earth, and not another one just like you. Isn't that wonderful? You're probably looking at me saying, thank goodness for that, because only one of you is enough. Well, let me just tell you this. I'm here to do this, and I know it's quick 30 minutes, but it's not the 30 minutes that matters, because my goal is to help try to inspire you or to give you some kind of incentive to use the tools that have been created for you to become better trainers, better teachers, facilitators, communicators, and bottom line, salespeople. In fact, if you think about this, you don't have to write this down, just remember this. Training is really only training when it changes one's behavior. Did you get that? What did I just say? Everybody say it with me. Training is only training when it changes one's behavior. Your goal as an IBO, your goal as a leader is to help bring those people up and push them up and help them to become successful. But sometimes it's going to take a change in behavior to make that happen, am I right? We have to eliminate bad habits with good habits. That's what we need to do. Speaking to them isn't going to cut it a lot of times. Telling them isn't going to do it. A motivational speech won't do it. I'm in the business and I know that. I can excite you. I know how to tug on your heart. I know how to get to the emotion. You know, most buying decisions are made emotionally and justified with logic. I know how to do that. But when you leave here, you'll say, well, that was great. And then a week from now, you say, well, he said something about that. What was it he said? 2 weeks later, you hardly even remember you were here. So what we have to do is help change one's behavior. And that's changing our behavior too. You know, there's a difference between a trainer and a teacher. And there's a difference between a teacher and a facilitator. And I've done all of those. I love that. Communicator, just being a communicator is different. But everyone sells, everyone. In fact, if you subscribe to the belief that selling is simply exchanging value, you don't have to exchange product for money. Selling is exchanging value. If you really believe that, how many of you have ever heard that before? Selling is exchange of value. How many of you now believe that? Thank you. How many of you now would say, yeah, you might be right. It's exchange of value. Let me see your hands. Because if you really believe that, then somebody that's a trainer is a salesperson, right? Because I'm trying to sell you on changing your behavior. Somebody that's a teacher in our public schools around the world, some of the best teachers are those that can inspire kids beyond belief. My favorite teacher in high school, by the way, I hail from Espanola, New Mexico. Anybody ever been to New Mexico on the mainland? Anybody? If you ever go there, you need to go to Espanola. It's up north. It's the lowrider capital of the world. You know what a lowrider is? Oh yeah, they have those cars, they take the shocks out of them, and sometimes they have hydraulics to go up and down, and they put lights on them, and they have a 6-inch chain link steering wheel. You ever seen those in cars before? I gotta tell you, it's probably the most, I guess you could say, most effective accessory you can ever put on a car. I know that firsthand, because it's the only way that you can drive handcuffed. I'm only kidding, halfway. I've lived in 27 different countries and I've been in jail in 2 of them, but not for my reasons or any other problem, and I'm only kidding in a way, or am I? The reality is everyone sells. You sell, as a parent, you sell your kids. Kids sell their parents better, in fact, because they know how to tug on the emotions. Well, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to help you fill your funnel. I'm going to share with you that perceptions and expectations. What's the difference here? I'll share with you, like Michael was saying, a system called Grow. Now, that's not the name of the series that you're launching. It's a train-the-trainer series that you're launching. But I'm going to share with you the four, I guess you could say 4 elements of my belief in what I was designed to do and what I was put on this earth to do. Then I'm going to challenge you. But let's look at this first. You've heard this before, have you not? It's a cliche. It's been said before. If it's up to be, it's who? It's up to me. Now, I believe if it's to be, it's up to thee, but I still have to put some effort into that. I used to work for Disney, and one of the things I learned from Disney was something very important. We were at Mickey Mouse University the first time. This was back in the 70s. And I heard the young lady say, would you like to know what the magic pixie dust is for making our business what it is? Anybody ever been to Disneyland or Disney World? It's amazing, isn't it? Everybody says, yeah, we'd like to know. We were children of the 60s, you know. We thought, is it something that you can take? Can you ingest it? And she had this leather satchel on her podium, and she reached into that satchel, and I thought she was going to bring out some kind of glitter or something. She stuck her hand in that, and when she brought it out, she did this. She says, there is no magic pixie dust. What we've created takes hard work and a lot of effort. It was Walt's vision. It was then, it is now, and will always be to create happiness for people of all ages everywhere. That was our mission. Everybody knew it. They were so detailed with what they did, and that's why it's so important that we learn as communicators, small techniques, little things that we can do, the little details that will make a huge difference. And what do I mean by that? You tell me. Anybody ever sat on a boulder before? You get tired, you're out walking, you sit on a boulder, it doesn't bother you that much, does it? But here in Hawaii, it can happen real quick. Can you get sand in your bathing suit? I guarantee you that'll bother you a lot more. It's the little pebbles in the sand that will rub you raw, not the boulders. It's a little pebble in the shoe that will make you move, not a rock. It's the small things that you do, not only in your business that have made you successful, but as a communicator, as a trainer, as somebody that's trying to get people to learn and grow. The little things make a huge difference. Now, with that, I'll simply say this. I'll give you a bunch of stuff today. You can write notes till you're blue in the face. You can walk out of here with a lot of knowledge. But knowledge without application is like toothpaste without a toothbrush. You could brush your teeth with your finger or a washcloth, but it's better with a brush, is it not? It's like having a brush and you're bald. I'd never use it. Well, my wife might say, well, maybe not on your head, but you have on your back. I'm only kidding, ladies. It's just a joke. But I have used some shampoo before. Have you guys ever used shampoo to grow hair? I did. It was called New Generation. 3 years, man, $39.95 a month. I used it constantly. And it grew hair. It was wonderful. But what happens to shampoo in the shower? It goes right down your back. I've got this mane down my back like you wouldn't believe. I'm only kidding. Some of you are going, yuck, I don't want to hear that. I'm only kidding. Maybe. Well, the reality is you have to use the knowledge. If you go to your grave, somebody says, oh, they were a wonderful person. He or she was so knowledgeable, but you did nothing with it. How good is it? What good does it do anybody? Thank you very much, Renato. I appreciate it. Everybody say, thank you. I appreciate that because I don't know why. It's not as dry here as it is in New Mexico. But the fact remains that knowledge without application, without using it, is useless to you. You've got to use it. And that's part of what training does, is it helps your people understand what it does for them. And that's why I believe everybody sells. Everybody does, whether you're training, whether you're an educator, whether you're a communicator, it makes no difference. Here's a formula in life. Real quickly, I'm going to share this with you. You might want to remember that. If you remember nothing else but this, you'll have learned something when you leave here and say, wow, perception is the P in this formula. If I said a person's perception is equal to it starts with an R, what would you say? That's correct, reality. Perception equals a person's reality. What they believe is real to them. Whether or not it's based on truth is irrelevant, right? It doesn't make any difference. What they believe, what they know, or what they see is their belief. That's it. The people that are sitting in your meetings, whether you're doing the meeting for training or you're just doing a meeting to present the opportunity, it doesn't make any difference. Their perception is their reality. Now, let me prove it to you. How many of you, when you got your first vehicle, if you did get your first vehicle, when we were young, whether you bought it yourself or your parents gave you their old car or whatever it was, you had your first vehicle. When you clean it up, it's all spick and span and everything's bright and shiny. Doesn't it tend to drive better? The reality is it doesn't, but our thought is it does. It's the same way with all of us. Hey, Dr. Joyce Brothers, anybody ever listen to her? I used to love her. She'd say, every third person in America has emotional problems. Every third person does. That's 1/3 of us. And she used to do this. I want you to do this now. Look at the person to your left. Now look at the person to your right. If they look pretty normal, then you got a problem. I always ask people, how many of you have problems, or how many of you in here don't have any problems? And I get some people raise their hand. I think to myself, you just found your first one, because we all do. We all have them, right? The key is how we handle them. Now, how we communicate those solutions is what it's about. Here's what it's about. Disappointment is a result of unmet expectations. Would you agree with that? Period. And in everything in life, I don't care if when you were dating, oh, my wife is wonderful. I love her dearly. I met her in Prague. I was working for the embassies in Eastern Europe, going from embassy to embassy, doing train-the-trainers. For the last few years, that's been what I've mainly been doing, is writing curriculum and doing train-the-trainers. I love training trainers. I love coaching executives on how to speak. Not just how to speak, but the little things that they do. How many of you have heard somebody and all you hear from that is, and pretty soon you start focusing on the uhs. Or somebody comes up and they do something with their body. I had a friend that was a great motivator and a great speaker, but he would do this with his glasses. Every time he'd touch his glasses, he'd do that. And I said, you know that's so distracting. And he would say, what, do what? I said, well, you do this all the time. I know I don't. I said, well, let's video you. Let's find out. So we put it on the videotape, and then we sped it up. You should see him. He's like this. And then he realized, ouch. You know why it takes sometimes doing that with people? Because we perceive ourselves in a way that's differently than the way other people perceive us to be. We just do. I mean, thank goodness, right? Look at me. I mean, come on. It wouldn't take a beauty parlor to fix me. It'd take a magic parlor, right? But my wife saw something of beauty there, which is wonderful, and I love that. And my kids are amazing. They still call me Dad. You know how you know you're a success with your kids? It's how they talk about you to their friends. When you're not around, how do they talk about you to their friends? That's when you know you've been successful as a parent. Not just that, but I even ask my kids on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing? And my 12-year-old, when he was younger, he'd say, Why? On a scale of 1 to 10, how about a 2? What? Well, what do I have to be to do a 10? Well, you promised me something you didn't deliver. Where'd you get so smart? He just made the honor roll, by the way. I just got the text last night. My wife sent me the certificate, and I save everything. I'm a pack rat. I love all the certificates and pictures. I save it all. They don't save anything, but I save it, every one. You know why? Because when I feel down and depressed, I go to that box and I look at all these things that people have said about me and cards they've sent me. Just like this, I tell you I love you, because I really do. From my heart, I love you. What do I want to hear? Then I want you to say it. Everybody say, I love you too, Jim. Say it even if you don't mean it. Because before long, you'll start believing it. But that's called, you got to do that. We have to encourage people. We have to be encouragers. We have to help people meet expectations, their expectations. I love movies. Anybody ever see a movie called Stand and Deliver? Jaime Escalante portrayed the teacher. He's a teacher, but it was James Edward Olmos that played this teacher. And they were talking in this school. It was a magnet school in the Los Angeles area. And they were having a hard time with getting kids to learn anything. And he was a substitute teacher. He gave up his computer business to go teach. And they're arguing. All the teachers are saying, what do we have to do to keep our accreditation? And he piped up and he said, I want to teach algebra. And he said, what? They can't even add and subtract. You want to teach them algebra? True story, true story. I actually called him to find out if that was true, and I became a friend with him after that movie. It took me forever, but that was true. And you know what he said? He told the teachers this, and that was when I realized that I wanted to be a teacher. He said, students rise to the level of expectation. You see, in life, folks, it doesn't make any difference as a trainer, as a communicator, as a facilitator. It doesn't make any difference. As a business owner, we don't all the time get what we want in life. We get what we expect. Because we make it happen. Yes, with his help, with whoever's help, whoever your higher power is, that's help, yes. But we have to do something, right? It's like the guy that wanted to win the lottery, right? Every day he'd go to bed and he'd say his prayers before bed. Lord, please help me win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. Please, Lord, I want to win the lottery. For a month he prayed for 30 minutes before he'd go to bed. Finally, at about 45 days after that, he's praying, God, please help me win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. And he heard a voice. And the voice came and said, you want to win the lottery? Then buy a ticket, dummy. You can't win it without buying the ticket, right? The fact of the matter is you have to do something. I have a belief, and the belief in life is to take more pain than you give and give more love than you get. I believe if you do that, you'll never be disappointed. I really, truly believe that. But I believe there's a great book on the market, and it's a book by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. If you're a reader, you need to buy that book. If you've read it, you understand what I'm talking about. Because he doesn't talk about what we do or how we do it. He talks about why we do what we do. Here is why I do what I do and why I believe that everybody that wants to teach, whether you're a trainer, a facilitator, communicator, doesn't make any difference. If you have these beliefs, you will succeed. You see, it is the acronym GROW, and the G stands for Help People Get an Education. To help them get an education, to provide the tools and the resources necessary to increase their mental capacity, because every one of us can. I am amazed by my 2-year-old. He's watching a series now. Anybody, who's the one that just made platinum that has a young child? You just said he has, there's your IBO. How old is your baby? 4 months. When, boy or girl? Boy, you are blessed, my friend, you are blessed. When that boy is about 2 years old, my 2-year-old is watching a program called Steve and Maggie. It's a British program about a guy that's so crazy, but he's teaching them. He helps them learn things, and Maggie is a bird, is an animated bird. But I watch him and I think to myself, how come I can't still learn like that? I'll be in front of the television and he'll be mocking exactly what they're doing. He's only watched it a few times, but he knows it word for word. He can't pronounce the words yet. It's funny to listen to it, but he does it. And then I realize he does that with me. He hears me say something and he does it with me. So here's what I get from that. Very simple. It's very simple. Emerson said this: what you are speaks so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. In other words, your actions speak louder than your words. You have to be a walking sermon for your people, am I right? As an instructor, as a trainer, you have to live it. I am so sold on video. I believe live and video is still the way to learn. A lot of people use animation. I'm not a fan of animation. You know why? Because you can make animation not real. I believe in real life. I believe in watching somebody do something. You want to do something? Let me show you how to do it. For the last few years, every year, my organization, we do something for the people that are needy, the family. We have lists of people that have needs. 3 years ago, I taught the young men and families how to do woodwork, how to turn pens. Anybody a turner in here, a wood turner? I taught them how to turn pens, and they made pens for their families for Christmas. And I loved it. I had 15 kids come off the streets, and we taught them. 2 years ago, we refurbished mini bikes. And we made them, we said this: you get it this year, and part of the payback, I believe in paying it forward, is next year you come in and help prepare what we're doing for the families next year. And they did. But the next year we gave away guitars. I bought old guitars and we refurbished them and we gave them away. This year we're giving away drums. I was a drummer growing up, and I played drums at Tomorrowland Terrace. And so I thought, okay, we're going to do this. I feel sorry for the families that are going to get these, but the fact is that's what we're doing. The list has kind of gotten smaller as a result of what we're giving. But the fact is that we give. When you get an education, you help people get an education by giving. Give of yourself. The R in this stands for realize. It should be a Z, but I was trying to be correct. Realize their potential. You know, when it comes to spelling, I tell people I'm just like Einstein. Einstein used to say the people that spell the same words the same way every time are the most uncreative people in the universe. So it's realizing your potential. Let me have you do something. Everybody stand up. I'm going to show you what we're talking about, realizing potential. Those of you that are against the wall, I want you to walk to the wall. I want you to do this on the wall. Everybody, you don't need a wall to do this. But those of you against the wall, I want you to go against the wall. And here's all I want you to do is this. I want everybody in here to face the wall if you're there, or those of you facing me, just reach as far as you can go. Reach as far as you can go. And stay right there for a moment. Look at that. Look around. Look at the people on the wall. Now, is that really as far as you can go? Now, we don't have lights on them, but if we had lights, you'd see it. I want you to reach farther. Just challenge yourself to reach farther. Can you do it? You've done it. Some of you are stepping on your tiptoes. That's it, right? You'll do whatever it takes, right? You'll do whatever it takes. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. And those of you against the wall, you can reach farther. You put a tape, have your people do it. They'll reach up there. This is as far as I go. Is it really? No. You'll find a way if you challenge them. If you challenge people, they find a way too. Am I right? That's what happens. You've got to realize your potential. If you ever want to read a great story, you need to read a story called Johnny the Bagger. Anybody ever read it? About a young man that had Down syndrome, born with Down syndrome. And he worked in a grocery store. He was a grocery bagger. That's all he was. They had an inspirational speaker come in and do a seminar for them on how to make a difference. And her whole message was create memories, be different, find something you're good at, and do that. He went home that night and he thought, what can I do? And he thought, I can't do anything. I have Down syndrome. What are people going to learn from me? What are they going to get from me? Well, he liked motivational sayings. So every night he would go home and he'd find a saying and his dad would help type it up and they'd cut it into slips. And the next day he would drop one of those motivational sayings in every bag that he bagged. And within a couple of weeks, some crazy things started happening. The manager came down and saw the line in Johnny's station was real long, and he'd say, we need to open up other cashiers. And he'd walk up to the customers and he'd say, oh no, we want to be in Johnny's line. We want to get his motivation or his saying for the day. He had people come up to him and say, listen, I live 30 minutes away and I could shop close to home, but I want to come here because I want to get what Johnny has to say. He was changing lives. He was inspiring people by just cutting those out and dropping them in the bag. Now, this is a change that has occurred in the little grocery store. Now they have a floral department. Anytime there's a flower that has a broken stem, the people pick up the flower in the garden shop and they find an elderly lady or a single mom and they pin it on them as something special, just to make people feel special. How many of us in here want to feel special? Well, we are, folks. Every one of us here is special. Every one of us in here. So the third is, O stands for overcome your fears. Now I'm going to have you do something that's pretty crazy. I know it's real crazy, but I want you to do that. Because, we're born with two fears. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Did you know that? Those are the only two fears we're born with in life. Fear of falling, fear of loud noises. Every other fear that we have in our life is a learned fear that we've learned from other people. Parents, teachers, siblings, whoever. That's it. That's it. So I want you to do something. I want everybody to do this. You should have no problem. You're an achievers group in here, so everybody stand up, if you will. I'm getting close to the end here, by the way, so I'm going to have you do this just one last time for me here. I want you, give me a couple of volunteers, if you will, people that are not afraid. Come on up here, if you will. What's your name? Maya? Mia, come on up, Mia. It's very nice to meet you. Give me another volunteer from over here, anybody. Come on up, bud. The one with a young baby. What's your first name? Tony. Come on up, Tony. Tony and Mia, you're going to come up. Great, come on, that's great. What's your name?
Mahbub.
Mahbub? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Here's what I want you to do. We are all going to now get out of our own comfort zone here. We're going to overcome some fears. Now, what I mean by that is this. We're all now no longer in whatever business you said you were in. We are all now learning to be carnival barkers. Carnival barkers. Those people that say, ladies and gentlemen, behind me in the big tent. Here's what I'm going to do. I want you to coach them. I'm going to show you what to do, and I want you to coach them. And the way you do that is I want everybody to do what they do, okay? I want everybody to do and say what they say, all right? I'm going to help you, but I want you to do that. So are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Behind me in the big tent.
Behind me in the big tent.
Is Allura. Allura is half man and half woman. Are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Allura. Oh. Come on, you got to do it. I'm not seeing you. One more time. Very good. You guys are great. Give them a big hand. Give yourself a big hand, too. Thank you very much, Tony. Mabu, thank you. Mia, thank you very much. You're awesome. Go ahead and have a seat. I took you through the very simple and very quick version of it, too, by the way. Now, if you'd like to get a video of that, we have them available after this meeting because we have cameras that capture. You remember that drone? Well, the reality is that if you don't get out of your comfort zone, if you don't make yourself uncomfortable, you're never going to achieve the success, am I right? As you want to, you know that being an achiever already. As a trainer, as a facilitator, as an educator, you have to be willing to risk as well. Get people to do things they might not want to do, because you see the W in this, and it's the final one, stands for win at life. That's what it's all about, is to get people to win at life. Now, just like it was reaching on the walls, let me just give you a little bit of understanding here. Winning doesn't mean that you're better than someone else. I actually interviewed 3 wonderful coaches in the States. I interviewed Don Shula, the ex-coach of the Miami Dolphins. John Wooden, when he was alive, was the greatest collegiate basketball coach that ever lived. And then I also interviewed Pat Riley of the Lakers. He was ex-coach of the Lakers. Well, the reality was this. I asked him questions. And I interviewed him because I was doing a coaching program for a company. And I asked them, tell me something. What's your definition of winning? And every one of them, in their own words, said this: to do the best you can with what you've been given. Everybody say that with me. To do the best you can with what you've been given. That doesn't mean that somebody that's 5 foot tall is going to reach higher than somebody that's 6 foot tall. That's a physiological impossibility. That doesn't mean that somebody that's 6 foot tall is going to reach as high as somebody that's 7 foot tall. It might happen, but physiologically it's not a possibility. But the person that's winning is a person that takes what's been given in their life and transforms it and turns it into something that's valuable for mankind, for other people, not just for you. I used to love when Ziegler said, he would say, you'll get what you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. It's true, folks. It's so true in that. Am I right? So here's basically what I'm saying to you. You have some tools that are available to you. They're tools. 3 levels of tools. We've created 16 videos for you, and there's 3 different levels. The first one is already available for you now, and there are 6 videos. How adults learn, leading effective group discussions. Then you're talking about handling challenging learners, using comparisons in learning, and conducting role plays. All these you need to do. That's available to you now. They're 8 to 10 minute videos. That's all that they are. We've created these for you. The second series launches in February, More Than Words. It's all about more than words. And I wish I had a whole day with you. I wish I had more than 30 minutes to share with you what being a trainer and how to be a trainer and doing a trainer with you. Maybe through these videos, this is a start. This is not an end all, trust me, but it's a start. Energizing learning, a recipe for engagement. There's the managing fear to increase learning, and then creating effective demonstrations. The third one launches in May, the power of active listening. It's so important to listen, and I'll share with you in these videos what that means. I've even conducted activities in these videos so you can see them modeled. Another one is it's boosting learning with visuals and media. Another one is crafting your story, because stories do the questions that drive learning. Stories do. Telling the story effectively, giving feedback within a group is important, and telling great stories. People learn with stories because stories tug on emotion. It's how they make you feel. Remember Maya Angelou? It doesn't matter what you do or what you say. It's how you made me feel. And that's what's important. At one point in my career, I took care of an elderly lady that was 72 years old. I was single at the time. I was in my mid-30s. She didn't have family, so I took care of her for the last 3 years of her life. I took care of her until we had to put her in hospice. She knew that she was going. We all knew that, but we just tried to make her life as comfortable as possible till the end. So I would go over every day. I wasn't the primary caregiver, but there was nobody there, so I would go over every day, and I would talk to her, and she was a teacher, by the way, that actually grew up just a few miles from where I did, and I had no idea, never met her before. Her name was Murdy Billingsley. At the end of her life, I actually did her funeral for her, and it was a wonderful celebration, but they gave me her diary. She had willed that to me. And in her diary, there was a saying, and she said, and it was so amazing to me. It was the greatest gift I think I've ever received, and it was things like this that happen in my life that cement what I do by helping people get an education, realize their potential, overcome their fears, and win at life. Because she'd say, the story that she wrote in there, she said, "Dear Jim, if only we had met years and years earlier. What a wonderful feeling I started getting. I love that woman. She died at 72, but she still lives in my heart. She left me a poem, and I'm going to leave you with this poem. And the poem made such a difference in my life. Little did I know that it was actually by Rudyard Kipling. But the poem read like this. It said, "No written word or modern plea can teach young hearts what they should be, nor all the books upon the shelves, but what the teachers are themselves." Ladies and gentlemen, that's what life is about. It's about using your life as a model for others to improve their life. And with that, I say thank you, and I leave you, and I encourage you, and I dare you to go into these modules and learn them and use them more than once. Everybody raise your right hand, if you will, and repeat after me. I promise to watch the videos and to use what's in them for the benefit of others. I also promise to give you $100. I tried. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Come on up here, whoever's coming up here. Thank you. And thank you. I should be applauding you.